This is Greg Nava.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's wonderful to talk to you.
Likewise. I'm very excited that El Norte is coming back, and a good time at that.
Yes. Yes, I feel like from El Norte to El Paso, the Latino community, our community, is in crisis.
Yes.
And El Norte's message of humanity and compassion is needed more today than when we first made the film 35 years ago.
Yeah, and researching when the film came out, I was surprised to read that actually the government brought about legislation for Central American refugees after the movie.
The movie was released in 1984, and it had tremendous impact. It was the first independent film to be nominated for an Academy Award, and of course played at Cannes and all over the world, and played for a year in Los Angeles, played for a year in New York. It was a very, very successful film, and it really, and both Walter Mondale and Ronald Reagan mentioned the film in their presidential debate. You know, and it helped create an atmosphere of compassion for refugees from Central America.
Yeah.
And Caresen and other groups and the indigenous group, the Mayan refugees that we worked with, they took advantage of this, and they, you know, went through the legal process. And very shortly after, 1986, they were granted protective status, the refugees from Central America. And this saved thousands of lives. And really, it is the thing that I'm most proud of as a filmmaker. That we made this film with 5 people in a Volkswagen van going in very dangerous locations in the Mayan highlands. And you really can change the world, you know, if you have the passion and the dedication. And so I'm very, very proud of that, extremely proud of that.
Yeah, I was reading as well that you mentioned that there's some dangerous situations. Who was after you guys?
Yes, we were almost killed a couple of times on this film.
Wow.
And it was very scary because there was civil war in Guatemala, there was civil war in Salvador, and a lot of political unrest in Mexico when we shot the movie. And the images were very threatening to people and to the powers that be. When you show the army killing these, you know, Mayan campesinos, right? Farmers, it's a heavy image.
Yeah.
And so these are images that people didn't want to see put on the screen, right? You know, they wanted to keep this stuff repressed. So actually that particular scene, we felt we couldn't shoot in the Mayan highlands, and we thought we'd be safe doing it in central Mexico. But when we shot that scene, even in central Mexico, guys with guns came to the set. And, you know, I was in the location with the cinematographer filming, and Ana Thomas, the producer, and Berta Navarro, the Mexican producer, faced these guys off. What brave women, you know?
Yeah, wow.
We got a message saying, Jim Glennon, sneak out the back, get our negative at the hotel, and go to Mexico City.
Wow.
You know, with our negative, and Greg, shoot everything you can today because this is our last day.
Wow.
You know? So he sneaks out the back of the set, goes to the hotel, gets the negative, gets in a van to go to the airport, and these guys had a car there, figuring there would be something like that, and they chase him. So now we have this car chase through this town. They pull the van over, and they come aboard with a machine gun.
Yikes.
And Jim is sitting on the film cans. They take him, and they take the film, right? They take him back to the hotel, and they lock him in his hotel room. He crawls out the bathroom window and runs to the street, flagged down a taxi, and he got to the airport. But, of course, they had our negative.
Oh.
So now we scattered, and everybody went to different hotels in the state of Morelos, and we finally get the word that they want $35,000 and they want us out of the country.
Wow, bribery.
So we don't know to this day exactly who this was, you know, because when somebody is making demands and they have machine guns, you don't say, "Well, can I see your official identification and tell me where you're from?"
Right.
It's not like you don't, you know. So who knows, you know? But it happened. See, so I think there was some official thing somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
With this, so we make the payoff at a parking lot in a shopping mall in Mexico City at midnight, and I'm in a Volkswagen Beetle with one of the Mexican producers that we were working with, and we had the $35,000, and these two vans drive up alongside of us, and they're both filled with guys with sunglasses and machine guns.
Wow.
At midnight. Sunglasses at midnight, okay?
Sounds like you were in a movie.
We throw the money into the parking lot. They threw the film into the parking lot, and they drive off, and then we left the country. And the film was the film.
Wow.
So there's honor among thieves, at least in that sense. But we had a lot of scenes to shoot, and we didn't know how we were going to finish the movie. And David Wasco, who was our production manager, I really have to give a shout-out to him. I mean, I'm also giving a shout-out to Jim Glennon, who not only did a marvelous job shooting the movie, but also was very brave in this circumstances. So David Wasco, who this was his first movie. He later did Pulp Fiction, and then later won the Academy Award for La La Land. So very brilliant guy.
Yeah.
And he built a little set for us, which matched the village that we shot at. And for those scenes, we used real Mayan refugees who were in Los Angeles. And so he did such a good job. And, of course, our extras were so perfect because they were real Mayan people from Guatemala. And we had all the costumes that we'd used from the movie with us. So when you're watching the movie, actually some of the shots in the first part of the movie were done in Los Angeles.
Wow, well, you had to at that point.
Tell,
Yeah.
It's so seamless that people can't tell. So I have to thank Dave Wasco for saving us. He did a great job.
So are we going to see any of those behind the scenes? I know the movie comes with some featurettes.
Yes. We did a beautiful discussion with Zaida and David, the two stars, and they're going to be showing that. I introduced the movie, and then they're going to be showing that after the film.
Oh,
it's a roundtable discussion we have about shooting the film, about the mythology of the movie, about all of the themes of the film, how they created their characters. We talk about a lot of things, and then for when it goes on to Pantaya and to the various digital platforms and eventually HBO, there's an even longer expanded version of that. So there's a lot of, a lot of information about the shooting of the movie.
Oh, well, that's great that it's going to all these other streaming platforms because a lot of people may not catch it in the movie theater, so they'll catch it streaming.
Yes.
Wow.
But we want as many people to come to the theater as possible.
Yes.
That's Sunday, September 15th at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
And the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences did this incredible restoration of the movie.
Wow.
And I really want people to go to see it on the big screen and to see this beautiful, pristine restoration. Really even more beautiful than when it was first released. When I saw it, I just took my breath away. It was so beautiful. When we made the film, we only had a crew of 5 people, but we were very young, and we said, we don't care. Nobody cares what's behind the camera, how big your crew is. All they care about what's in front of the camera, and we're going to put images on the screen that are just as beautiful and just as magnificent as anything in Lawrence of Arabia or anything, in an epic film. This is going to look just as good as any movie you've ever seen. And when I sat there at the Academy watching this restoration with this audience, I went, oh my God, we really did achieve that. Look at those images. They are gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful. So everybody come to the theater and see it. It'll really uplift you. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It'll give you insight into the lives of the refugees that come here to the United States. And it's just a beautiful film to watch. I'm very excited about this event.
And, it's been 35 years, but when I think back, it was almost like a documentary. I don't know why I keep remembering thinking that I'm like, oh no, this is actually a film. Because the way you shot it was so real.
I didn't want to make a documentary.
No, but it's so real.
It to be a powerful drama because, documentaries are great.
Yeah.
I love documentaries. But our understanding and knowledge of the people who come here is so framed by documentaries and by news reports and by, drama does something else.
Mm-hmm.
Drama gives us catharsis. Drama gets us inside the heart and soul of somebody, right?
Right.
And really makes you walk with them. It's not like, you're watching it and observing it from afar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather, you are with them. I mean, when they crawl through that tunnel and they're attacked by rats, you're with them in that tunnel. And you're experiencing that. And only a drama, the work we went through, staging a scene like that and putting it on the screen like that. Because I heard these stories about people that crawl through tunnels, right? And were attacked by rats. And I went, this I want to put on the screen.
Yeah, that was the most terrifying scene I remember from the movie.
Yeah, and so a drama can do that and put you with them in there.
Right.
And I want it, and that's what I feel is needed, and what is still needed to this day. I'll tell you an interesting story about that. One of the people on the Lionsgate marketing team is Arela Pena, and she's one of their marketing heads there at Lionsgate Films. All right. And she's very excited about working on the movie, and she told me that her father saw the film when it was first released in the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And he had crawled through a tunnel in order to get to the United States. He was undocumented. He's since become a citizen. But he crawled through a tunnel. And now, just like Rosa Enrique, and now his daughter is one of the people who heads marketing at Lionsgate. Mm-hmm. That is El Norte. That is the truth of what is great about America. You follow?
Yes, no, it's great.
It's not, it is the tired and poor who build this country. Mm-hmm. It is the children and the grandchildren of the refugees and the wretched refuse, as the poem says, who comes to our shore yearning to be free. They are the ones who win the Nobel Prize. They are the ones who make the films, like me.
Yeah, right.
They are the ones who become the new heads of Lionsgate Film. That's what makes our country great. And turning these people away, and trying to
vilify.
Say we only want doctors and lawyers to come here is not what's made the country great. It is the tired and poor that have made this country great. And when she told me that, right, that her father had crawled through that tunnel, it just moved me so deeply, because I went, yes, that's what this film is about.
Well, that's what was different about the film. I mean, being, myself a child of immigrants, they came here the easy way, but we had heard stories about people crossing the river. So that scene was such an eye-opener, because that's, we all have our idea of how they get here. But we don't know the hell that it is.
That's right. That's right. And of course, it's horrific what Rosa and Enrique go through.
Yes.
But they survive. Mm-hmm. Thousands of people die crossing the border. And this is underreported. This is there are so many ugly secrets to the situation on the southern border, but one of them is the number of deaths, And what's shocking about it is that if you look at over the past 10 years, the number of deaths of people crossing the border into the United States rivals the deaths of refugees from Syria and civil wars.
Yeah.
And there's no civil war. Right? Mm-hmm. So, horrible. And these are people that are, being shot at. And yet our situation is just as lethal. And it shouldn't be that way. It should absolutely not be that way. And now children are being put in cages and families ripped apart. Yeah. This is horrible.
It is horrible.
And I know the pain of this, because I was raised on the border. I always say that El Norte, the story, the idea for the border of the movie came from the center of the movie, the border, because that's my world. Mm-hmm. I was raised on the border. I'm a bicultural, bilingual family. I speak Spanish, and we're on both sides of the border. And I've seen people crossing. But more than that, in the 1930s, the United States government deported 1 and 2 million people of Mexican ancestry.
Wow.
Most of whom were citizens. Oh. This was in response to the Depression. And the program was called Real Jobs for Real Americans. Mm. people who were of Mexican descent weren't considered real Americans, just like today, right?
Yeah.
And they deported them, and it didn't matter if they were citizens.
Wow.
You know, the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors in the 1930s, because some of the worst roundups was in Los Angeles, were confronted by various lawyers and civil rights people, and the response was, and this is verbatim, this is not a matter of their civil rights. This is a matter of the color of their skin. They said that.
Wow.
And they were deported, between 1 and 2 million people. The numbers, we still don't know how many. One of them was my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And my family was ripped apart. And my father was raised without a father. And the pain of this affects our family to this day. So when I see these families being broken apart, and when I saw the situation on the border when I was growing up, I felt it deeply because I felt what that did to my family and how hard that was and how painful that is, right?
Right.
And this is a grandfather I never knew. So, this is all the things that motivated me to make El Norte, because I wanted to bring compassion and humanity to this situation and for people to walk in the shoes of the people who are trying to come here to seek a better life and flee the lethal violence in their homeland. And the situation hasn't changed. We see it today. It's even worse, right?
Yes.
And I can't tell you what it does to me when I see families being ripped apart at the border. And what happened in El Paso, right? This is a turning point, I think, in our community right now. And we have to rise to the occasion to tell our stories and let people see our hearts and our souls so that these things can't ever happen again.
That's the hope. I don't have much. I'm usually a positive person, but given the recent, what do you say? And what do you say to those people who say, "Well, why do they put their children in harm's way?" Which, I mean, it's idiotic, right?
Well, because it's either their children being killed in their homeland, so you would take that risk too.
Right.
To be in a situation where your child is going to be killed, and taking the risk of saving their life somehow, right?
Right.
So it's and I salute them because they're trying to save their children. Anybody would try to save their children.
Right.
You have that human right, okay, to try to save your child's life. And if that means you have to flee your homeland, then you flee your homeland, and anybody would do it. You would do it. I would do it. Anybody. All these naysayers. If they were in that situation, they would do it. And that's what a story like El Norte, it puts people in their shoes. So they say, yes, if I was Rosa and Enrique, I would come here too.
Yep.
Right? And that's what the film purports to do and what it does do and why it's, I think, so important today that it is being revived and reshown. It's wonderful getting this honors and recognitions, to have this beautiful restoration. Fathom, this is the first, Fathom, they do all these classic film revivals. They do the Metropolitan Opera. This is the first time they've done a classic Latino film. That's a great honor.
Yes.
Zaidi, David, and me, and all of us who made the film were so motivated by what we had to say. And as you talked about earlier, we were almost killed a couple of times trying to make the film.
Yeah.
So, and we're in very dangerous situations, and that's what gets you through and unites you, because a family made this film. Family of very dedicated, young, passionate people.
Right. Yes, we have not seen anything like this. Hollywood's too busy vilifying Latinos as gang members and the drug cartel.
Is that horrible?
Yes,
I was
it's
talking
horrible.
to Alfonso Cuarón about that, and it was just like he can't take it. And I said, we were both sitting there saying, like, I mean, if I see another narco, I'm going to scream. I'm going to go crazy.
Yes.
No, I can't watch those shows. I can't go to see those movies. I just can't do it. Can't do it. It's so horrible. It contributes to the atmosphere.
Of the bad hombre.
Because if the entire United States, all they see are narco evil guys who are trying to kill you, right?
Yep.
Then when Trump says the shit that he says, they believe it.
Well, of course. He's using that. He's using the media.
Yeah. So a film like El Norte is so needed, is so important, right?
Right.
And you've seen the film, so you know that I don't, glorify us either.
No, it's harsh
Latinos
reality.
in the movie, the waiter turns him in, Chicano guy turns him in.
Yeah.
That happens. I tell the truth. But that's one of the reasons why I think the film was so successful and had such impact, because people knew that the film had the courage to tell the truth, that not all the Latinos are perfect people and not all the white people are evil. And as a matter of fact, none of the white people are particularly evil. They're just kind of clueless, right, in the movie. But the fact of the matter is that they went, hey, this movie's telling me the truth. So so you have to believe the good stuff,
right?
Because he's not lying to me. And I think that's very important, I mean, we're no better or worse than anybody else.
Right.
But we genuinely are no better and worse than anybody else. In fact, they all talk about crime, but the crime with the immigrant population is the lowest of any group in the country.
Right.
There's hardly any.
Yeah.
Okay? Very, very, very little crime is associated with immigrants and undocumented immigrants. And
are you working on any projects? I know you mentioned you work on festivals.
Oh, no. I mean, I do love to. I work in festivals. I was a governor in the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. I founded Film Independent, so I do a lot of work helping young filmmakers and, trying to bring recognition, and those are things. But, of course, that's not my main work. My main work is filmmaking.
Right.
And right now we're doing two projects right now, one with Tom Hanks' company Playtone,
nice.
And the other with Netflix.
Oh, okay.
An adaptation of a really wonderful novel called Heat about refugees, young Cuban baseball players, Little League players who have to struggle to stay in this country. And then the project we're doing with the Playtone involves the early days of Hollywood and Latinos in Hollywood in the 1930s.
Ooh, can't wait for that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I had a book about 1930s Hollywood and Latinos, and it was a pretty fascinating read.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Right.
It's incredible.
We probably had more Latinos represented there, right?
Yes, they did. They made a lot of movies in Spanish, and that's what this is about, at night on the same sets that they were filming the English language version of the day.
Oh.
Because obviously when talkies came in, they were speaking in English, and in silent movies they could just change the title and distribute them all over the world. But the minute there were talkies, they couldn't distribute them all over the world, so they started making alternate versions in other languages, mainly Spanish. Yeah.
Oh wow! I can't wait to see that one. Very excited for that one.
Yeah.
I love all that history.
What?
I said I love all that history.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, in the silent era, there were a lot of Mexican stars, like Ramon Navarro, and Dolores Del Rio, and Lupe Velez, and then, of course, they had Antonio Moreno, and they had a lot people.
Yeah, tons and tons of people. I was surprised.
They did, because of Rudolph Valentino, there was this whole rage for these Latin lovers, these kind of exotic types,
right.
Greta Garbo, and not just people from Mexico, but Greta Garbo and Paula Negri. And so they liked these exotic types,
Yeah.
But when talkies came into existence, of course, then everybody wanted, wisecracking Americans, and suddenly all these people were out of work.
Oh, yeah. Terrible time. Terrible transition.
So that's sort of like one of the themes of the movie,
Oh, wow. Nice. All right.
Thank you so much for helping. It is so important that we get the word out and we get people to come see the movie. I know they'll love it.
Yes.
And seeing this beautiful restoration, and again, most importantly, its message of compassion, which is so needed today.
Oh, yes, it is. So very needed.
Sunday, September 15th at 2 o'clock. Be sure you get that info in there.
Yes, we will. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.